Stampers, it's Linda Schmidt with Stampin' with the Hound. Thanks for joining me today. I have a fun fold to share with you. This one is a version of a gatefold, and it is called the Gatefold Hidden Door. So this it was pretty popular probably a few months ago or whatever, but it was on my to-do list to figure out how to make one. And there's a couple of different, really this mechanism part you can make however wide you want to. I'm going to give you the measurements for both of them today, but I am going to be doing the longer one today, just because I just like a little bit more real estate when I'm working on it. But these are just some recent samples that I used with this fun fold. So you're basically you've got a card base, and then I like to, now this one I did do cardstock for this mechanism part, but it does get a little thick because you've got all that multi-layers, and it's a little bit of weight on there. So I'm going to be using two-tone cardstock for that mechanism because it gets a little bit thinner. But this is one that I did a little bit of masking, and this is with the Stampin' Up Prairie Grass, which is a online exclusive. This is a really pretty set. And then this is the DSP. It's a 6x6. I think it's called Beautiful Gallery or Artful Gallery, something like that, but it's got some really pretty pattern papers. So here is the hidden door. So it opens up, and then you can put your message on the inside. So, and then if you have more to write, you can always use the back of it. So that is the first sample that I did. And then the other one, with the same paper packet, this time I did Charming Day. And then I did a little bit of the two-tone cardstock, which when you emboss it, if you take like a sander, or like when you get your nails done, you get that little white foam kind of cube thing, that is going to buff it, and then you can get that, because it's white the center is white, so when you sand it, it shows off that white, which is kind of a neat effect. So here is another one, and I did a little bit of vellum on it and added my little brush butterflies. So this one, when it opens up again, and then here is your hidden door on it. So really pretty. I just love this paper, so gorgeous. And this one this is that Secret Sea in color, and then I did a little bit of the cloudy, oh gosh, what is it now? Cloud Cover is the other paper. So those are both in colors that are new this year. All right, and then the one that we are going to be doing today is this one, because I needed one more Thanksgiving card. I addressed all of them and put them in the mail, and then I was like, oh, I'm short one. So we're going to do this one today because it's still fall, and I'm just not ready to make Christmas cards yet. So this one is using the Gathering Together Designer Series paper, and then the Gathering Moments stamp set and dies, which is another online, Gathering Moments, and then the coordinating dies that go with it. And I've been using this quite a bit this fall. You'll see in some of my other videos, I've featured this stamp set before. I love fall cards. So here is this one. So we did a little bit of die cutting, and I did emboss. We're not going to emboss today, but this was the one that I'm mailing off to a friend. So there's this one. And so again, here is the two-tone cardstock. So it's a little bit lighter. The thickness isn't as thick, and then it's not as heavy either on it. So there is the two-tone cardstock, and then I stamped it, and I did a little bit of gel pen, and then here's our hidden message, and again I did a little bit of embossing on there. So it's a great way of using your Designer Series paper, and it's a very simple, kind of fun fold to do. So we're going to get started. So in what you're going to need is your cardstock base, which is basically this part of the card, okay? That is going to be 5.5 by 6.5. We're going to score on the long side at 4 1/4, and then that becomes this flap right here. So this is early espresso, and again, this is cardstock. Then for your mechanism, I'm using the two-tone cardstock. So when you get this, one side is lighter than the other. It's got a little bit more, you know, it's a little bit lighter than our cardstock. And then some of it's like a little bit heavier than some of our designer series paper. So this one is going to be 4 inches wide by 10.5 inches long. And then we're going to score this on the long side. And we'll go over those scoring measurements. And then for your pattern paper, really, you can do whatever you want. I was basically doing this pattern matches, you know, the base, and then I was doing one more for the mechanism. So I'm calling this DSP pattern A. So for that pattern, I'm doing 3 pieces. The base, which is, you know, the back of the card, that's going to be 4 by 5 1/4. That's that one. This one, which is the front panel here, that one is 2 by 5 1/4. And then this piece, this goes on the mechanism, which was here. So on this one, again, we're doing the wider one today. This is going to be 2 1/4 by 3 3/4. So these are all for the longer version. I'll also put in my Stampin' with the VIP Hounds. It's my Facebook group page. I'll have the measurements for the narrower one as well for it. So those are all pattern A. Then our DSP pattern B, and I ran out. So this is actually, it's a different pattern, but normally I would have all these be the same. So this one is going to be on the mechanism. These are all on the mechanism. This is like my card front one. That one is 1 3/4 by 3 3/4. So that's the mechanism. And then the other mechanism, which is the one, again, I messed up. So, I just ran out. So this one is going to be actually 2 1/4 by 3 3/4. So if you wanted it to be the same pattern as this, you totally can. But like I said, I ran out. So I'm using that one. And then this is for the base. And this is optional. You don't have to decorate this inside panel, but I thought it finished it off. So I'm doing the back side of this card, or the pattern paper. And that base one is 2 by 5 1/4. So those are all pattern B. And then pattern C is going to be this little spine. And then I also did it on my hidden card on the inside. So the spine on the mechanism is going to be 3/4 of an inch by 3 3/4. And then again, these are all the same. So this one is 2 1/4 by 3 3/4. And that's all of your pattern C. And then I like to use, just for my inside greeting, again, this is that two-tone cardstock, and I'm using the basic beige. You can use cardstock if you want, but I like the two-tone cardstock because it's a little bit lighter. So this one, again, it's the same size as these other ones, 2 1/4 by 3 3/4. And so it's a lot of pieces, but it's really easy to assemble. So we are going to get started. So let me get all my pattern papers put away here, and then we can get to the scoring. Okay, so I'm using my Simply Scored tool. These are fairly easy measurements. So on our card base, which was again 5 1/2 by 6 1/2, we were going to score on the long side at 4 1/4. So that's that one, and then I just flip it around because then this becomes the flap. And then on our mechanism, so I kind of want the darker side showing. So we're going to score at 2.5, 5 inches, 7.5, and 8.5. And again, you're going to rotate this around because then it's going to go, here's our front panel, this is our spine, this is this piece, this is the center, and then this is the hidden door on it. All right, so then we just have to burnish on all of these. So that's it for the scoring. And then we just assemble. All right, so we're going to do a valley fold on our card base. So this is just going to come in. And we'll just use our bone folder, make a nice sharp crease. And that is the card base. Then on your mechanism, we want this first one where it has that narrow panel, which this is becoming our front. This is going to be a mountain fold. So I'm just going to flip this over. We're going to do a mountain, okay? So mountain fold, mountain fold. This one becomes a valley fold. And then this last one, remember this is our hidden door, that's another valley fold that just comes in. So it's going to look like that. So we've got a mountain, a valley, and a valley. And then it just, this is the hidden door, this comes in, and that folds flat. And then if you just need to line up anything, if it's not quite where you want it, you can do just force it into place and reburnish it. And that should be good. Okay, so now we've got our pieces. So let's do our card base first. So again, we had 3 pattern, I'm sorry, this one's going on the mechanism. These are the 2 pieces that are for our base, the 4 by 5 1/4, and then the other one was 2 by 5 1/4. And so this is where this is going to go on this inside. And then I also need this one because that's going to go here. So these are both that same 2 by 5 1/4. Let's go ahead and put this on the inside. And let's see, which way do we want our, I think we want our leaves going. Yeah. So this is going to go on the inside. And then we've got that other 2 by 5 1/4, and I'm just seeing which one I prefer on my front. Most of that's going to be covered up anyway, so I think I may, because this one's got a little bit more gold in it, I think I'm going to keep that on my front. So I'm going to do this other, the back side, on my inside panel here. Front, again, we're going to put our other 2 by 5 1/4 inch Designer Series panel on the front. All right, so that is the base. Super easy. Okay, so we'll set that aside for now. Okay, so now working on our mechanism. I'm going to unfold this. So when we look at this, the narrower pattern here, this was our front. So I am going to get, that was my DSP. I'm just trying to find my pieces here. That is this one and this one. Okay. So this again was the 1 3/4, 1 3/4 by 3 3/4. Yeah, I just thought this designer series, this fall paper was so pretty this year. And I like how it had that little bit of gold foiling on the leaves. I think that's really pretty. Okay, so we've got that one, and then let's grab our spine, which this one was 3/4 of an inch by 3 3/4. And that's going to go here. Oops. Okay. Then this one, I'm going to bring in this the other leaf one. So this one was 2 1/4 by 3 3/4. So these are all going to be the same size. So let's go ahead and tape this in. Okay, I'm going to wait and do this. That's going to be where our message goes. I'm going to wait because I actually want to stamp on this first before I adhere that. And then this one, now normally I would have had, no, I'm going to do that here, I think. I'm going to do, because when you open it, our message would be here. So I want this Cajun Craze kind of showing. So when you open it up, this is your message part, and then we're going to keep this one being that Cajun Craze pattern paper, which was the 2 1/4 by 3 3/4 piece. And again, you can do your papers however you want. But just knowing that you're going to need 1, 2, 3, you're going to need 4 pieces that are that 2 1/4 by 3 3/4. And then you'll need one that is the 3/4 of an inch by 3 3/4. You'll need one that is the 1 3/4 by 3 3/4. And then whatever you want for your center part. Again, that can be, it can be designer series paper, it can be cardstock, it can be the two-tone, whatever you want. Okay, so now we're going to close it on the right side, and then this was my other 2 1/4 by 3 3/4. So this one just has some like subtle, like basic beige, kind of the little leaves and acorns, and then it's got that gold foiling, which I think is really pretty. So we'll put that one there. Okay, and then let's go ahead and we're going to stamp. So this was my basic beige two-tone cardstock, which was 2 1/4 by 3 3/4. We're going to go ahead and put our message on there. And I think for this one, I am going to do, I think I'll just do my saying. yeah, I think I'll do my saying and Cajun craze. So the saying I'm using is actually from Beautiful Pumpkins, which was another online exclusive. It's just so grateful to have a friend like you. That's another set that I use quite a bit this fall. All right, so we're just gonna stamp our saying. And I'm using, again, this is that basic beige two-tone cardstock, and I'm on the darker side. And then, make sure I'm stamping straight. Okay, there's that. And then I'm going to do just a little branch, or whatever these are, the little berries or whatever. I'm just going to stamp them all in crushed curry. And I'll just do a little bit down here in the corner. And then what I like to do is take either a colored pencil or a watercolor pencil, which I'm using just to Stampin' Up. I'm doing the early espresso. And I am just going to draw and color in my branches, the stems, so that they're brown instead of the crushed curry. You can use a marker too. So now we just have that little brown added to it, and then I'm just going to take a little bit of a gel pen, gold gel pen, and I'm just going to just do a few little dots here just for accent pieces, just to bring in that gold. All right, so there, that's all stamped, quite simple. And then we'll attach this to the inside of our card. Okay, then get this out of the way. I did, because I've got, like I said, I had already die cut a bunch of stuff. I do like to kind of just add a little bit of, you will bring in the crushed curry. So I'm just going to, so this is one I had already stamped in crushed curry on Whisper White, and then I die cut it, and then I'm just going to adhere this just on the inside. And then, so that's going to be my hidden door. And I think I may just leave this. I might do one of my little mushrooms. Yeah. So on this, I did a little, I think they call it no edge watercoloring or something. I can't remember now what it's called. But anyway, it's a technique where you stamp the image. Let me just grab a piece of scratch paper here. So you stamp the image in like a really light color. So like again, this is going to be basic beige. I'll just do the acorn. So I'm just going to stamp this in basic beige, and this is just on white. So it has to be a very light color, like crumb cake. You could do like pool party, gray granite. And then you can either, now I found it was easier to do, I mean, you can do it with the watercolor pencils, but I was finding it was easier if you did it with a blender pen. Just looking for my blender pen here. You know what, I did put that away. Blender pen. Let's see. Oh, I said real quick, and then I can't find my blender pen that I was using. Oh, here it is. Because I think, well, one, this isn't watercolor paper, so when I was doing the watercolor pencils, it was getting, my paper was too thin, so it was kind of warping a little bit, and it got a little fuzzy. I don't know if you can kind of see that, but anyway, I then found it was a little bit easier if you just use your ink pads and then use a blender pen. plenty of liquid on that one. So then you just take, so again, we stamped our image in that basic beige on the white. And hopefully this one is the, I think I need to order some new blender pens. They're starting to see better days. Getting a little dried out. Okay, so we're gonna start with we'll do the crushed curry. And then you're just basically coloring, oops, got a fuzzy on there. And then with the blender pens, you just need to make sure you rinse it off until the color's gone. And then we'll pick up the brown. And then you just kind of get that no line watercoloring, which is kind of cool. And then you would just die cut this one out. But again, like I said, it's probably a little bit better to use. I mean, this is the thicker white, so it helps somewhat. But if you wanted to do the watercolor pencils, like with your aqua painter or your water painter or whatever, I just found it, you need to have a little bit heavier cardstock, so it doesn't get all warped in there. But I think I might do one of my little mushrooms, and we'll just kind of tape this here down. I mean, I don't like mushrooms, but this little mushroom is cute. So we'll just put one there. All right, then we got that to be there. And then for our card front, I was going to do, we're gonna do one of the crushed curry. We'll do a little bit of the early espresso in this one leaf, and then the Cajun Craze in this other little leaf pattern. And then before I put those on, I want to stamp my saying, so I'm going to unfold this, and I'm just going to do it in early espresso. Now on my original one here, I embossed it with gold embossing powder, so I stamped it with Versamark and then used gold embossing powder. The Thankful For You is from the Gathering Moments stamp set, so that is that one there. And let's see, where is it? Here it is. So I'm going to do this one in early espresso this time. And we'll just stamp this kind of down at the bottom. Let's see here. I should look and see, because this is a little bit longer than my first one. Yeah, that'll be fine. Okay. And then what I found was a little bit easier, just so I could get my leaves positioned how I wanted them. So I've got that. This is going to be kind of tucked underneath, and then this one will kind of be on top a little bit. Something like that. Yeah. But let's go ahead and assemble this first onto our card. So we're going to keep this in. This comes back, and then we're going to just see that spine. So bring your card base back over. And I first, you know, keeping it, like I said, you've got the hidden card, that's folded in, this is back, and you're going to see the spine and that first panel. And you can, depending on if you want, like where this score line is, you can get that fairly close to the edge of this flap, or you can move it over a little bit so that the mechanism is more centered in your on your card. Either way works, and I want mine to be, so then I just kind of hold this down and then I grab this just so I can see that I'm straight. Okay, that looks pretty good. And then this opens, yeah. Yeah, the hardest part is just making sure it's not crooked, because on one of my this one, yeah, it's a little crooked. It had shifted on me when I was gluing it. Okay, but I think that looks good. So I just like to use a little bit of low tack tape. I'm just going to tape this one down. I'm going to open this all the way up, and then you're going to put adhesive all over the back side of this mechanism. And I like to use liquid glue just to make sure that it doesn't fall apart on me. And then you're just going to close the base. And I just kind of give it a little burnish just to really press that glue on there, making sure that it's adhered. All right, and then we'll flip it over. And then where this was, just remove that. So again, I'm over just a little bit. So when I open this up, I only want to put glue. I don't want to go up to the score line edge. I want to kind of stay over here. So you're only going to put glue on this first panel, not up to the score line. And then you're going to fold it so that you still see that spine. And then give it a burnish. And that way your mechanism is now adhered. Fun! Now we get to decorate the front. Okay, so I've got my 3 little leaves and a little, so I'm going to do, and again here, because this panel is attached, you can, overlap a little bit, because this isn't, you're not going to see it. So I'm going to do something like this is my game plan, and then we'll add a little bit of the twine. Yeah. And then as long as your, let's see, on this one, yeah, here I did. You can have stuff overlap, like what I did on this one, where you're just adhering it just on this first panel, and then you can have that overlap. So that is something that you can do as well. But we are going to, I think, do this here. That can be there. And then the leaf. Yeah, so I'm just gonna hold these all together. And I'm gonna flip it over, and then I'm gonna glue. That way my pieces are, I know where they're at. And then I can always lift up and add a little bit more glue if I need it. And then I want to make sure that I'm not up to that score line, like I'm not overlapping, because I have glue on it, so I don't want to make sure, I want to make sure that I'm not gluing that to the score line. All right, and then we can remove this. And then now I can go ahead and just lift this up a little bit and put glue on the underneath it. I think this one's held down pretty good. Okay, and then I'm going to take, so this was, so when I got the gathering moments, gathering together, I got everything in the suite. So I got the paper, the stamp set, the dies, the twine came with it, and then also the little gems, which I've used quite a bit. I'm trying to think, was there anything else? And the designer series paper was all in there. So we're just going to take some of this early espresso time, and I'm just pulling off enough where, and I'm going to loop it or double it basically. Cut that. And then I'm just going to tie a bow. I probably cut way too much, but just tie a bow. And then these ends, I just snip off. Like so. So then you got that little bit kind of double layered. And then I just add some glue dots on there. And then this just gets attached onto the front. Cute, cute, cute. And then I think, because I didn't do any embossing, I might add a little bit of these low profile gold gems. I think these were they were on clearance. I don't know if they're still there or not, but I like them because they're not as high as these Cajun Craze, these ones, because this is already kind of getting on the thick side, and so I don't want to add gems on there, just to bulk it up. And then the Postmaster, they just don't like me. Or I gotta pay extra. All right, so let's do, let's see here. Do one here, one here. I might do a smaller one. One there. Yeah, we'll keep it right there. Cute. Super easy and fun. So again, that is the Gatefold hidden door. And again, you've got options on, you know, how wide you make your little mechanism. So again, I will put the measurements for those mechanisms and all the pattern papers and stuff in my Facebook, Stampin' with the VIP Hounds. So thanks again for watching. I hope you have a great and creative day, and I will stamp again with you soon. Bye-bye.